Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ancient Warfare Answers. I am still alone, and so I am Murray Darm, the Ancient Warfare magazine assistant editor. Jasper is away, so I am running the answer today, and that is from one of our patrons on Patreon, and this time has asked this question. You too can become a patron. Just have to go to the website www.patreon.com/Ancient Warfare Podcast, and you can support us and ask a question of your own. Please do. Would love to see it. This one from Anne. How did ancient armies, or ancient commanders, I suppose, inspire loyalty among their troops? And then asks, was it inspired or was it coerced? It was coerced, but it was also inspired. The various tactics of commanders and communities to inspire their troops. There's lots of evidence. The first one is victory. Win. That's how you inspire loyalty in your troops. You win. And there's several interesting aspects to commanders, foresightful commanders who are deliberately choosing not to win. Pericles during the Peloponnesian War, obviously, is one of the big ones, where he tells the population of Attica that they will not be facing the Spartans on the fields of Attica. They will withdraw into the long walls of Athens, which stretch from Athens down to the Piraeus harbour, and they will wait out the Spartan ravages of their farmland, not risking a land battle. Meanwhile, they will launch punitive expeditions by sea around the Peloponnese. And that's really unpopular because the evidence to the eyes of the Athenians is, of course, that they are losing. They're not winning. And yet there's wisdom in Pericles' strategy. And when his strategy, he dies, unfortunately, in 429. And when his policy is abandoned, it shows the wisdom of his policy, which eventually leads to the Athenians losing the war. But the first one is victory. If you win battles, you will inspire loyalty. There is also cruelty. You get the idea of commanders who are cruel. You know, the idea that Hannibal is more feared than loved, certainly by his mercenary forces. Although, of course, he does bring victory, and those victories that he brings at the battles of the Trebia, Ticinus, Trasimene, and Cannae, they keep him in good stead for a long time in Italy, even though after 216 BC, there aren't that many more victories coming his way. And obviously Alexander goes 10 years in Persia without losing a battle, so he inspires loyalty through that as well. He loses that loyalty when he pushes too far, and there's a mutiny in 426, 326, wrong century. So there's victory. There's cruelty to, fear me. If you don't do as I say, it's worse than losing a battle. You even get that in the Roman sense, but there's a virtuous aspect to it in the Roman sense, that a good disciplinarian is harsh but fair, to coin a modern phrase, where they're executing soldiers for breaching discipline, but that's to be expected. So that is used as an anecdote of discipline, and that you expect that from your commander, and therefore that inspires discipline in your armies. You do get a lot of anecdotes around commanders who, and again, this is something that today's commanders use, that the generals will suffer the same deprivations of their troops. They will eat the same food. They will sleep on the ground. They will go without sleep, just like their men will. They'll march with their men. All of those sorts of things are still used by commanders, into the 20th century. And those inspire loyalty, that the commander is one of us. You also get the idea that some of these commanders are descended from the gods or blessed by the gods. A lot of the commanders have got some kind of genealogy which stretches back to a god somewhere. Famously, Julius Caesar's mother was supposed to have been visited by a snake on the day that he was conceived, which of course was Zeus or Jupiter. You've got the Alexander being descended from Zeus and being linked with Heracles. You've got lots of other commanders. There is, gosh, what's his name? Murray in my head. Spanish. Sertorius has a white hind that he pretends comes and gives him information. So there's a sort of divination aspect to it. Of all there's a some kind of divinely inspired connection that they have, which means we should follow them. You've also got, I suppose, in some ways, you've got commanders who are coercing their troops to follow them, certainly mercenary troops or troops from allied contingents where their families are essentially hostages at home. And so you've got them and they will fight because you've got their loved ones. You've also got, like when the Goths enter the Roman Empire, they promise to be an army for the Romans against the Huns, who are, of course, at that point further east across the Danube. And so they're basically promising fealty in order to gain access to the Roman Empire. So that's, their loyalty is, you give us land, we'll be loyal to you. And in that case, Valens is accused of being an idiot because he let them in. So again, is that a stratagem or a cunning plan by the Goths to get access? So there's that. You also, of course, get, I won't say nationalism, but you certainly get communalism and loyalty to the city as a way of just making a unit have some kind of cohesion. The Greek armies fought in contingents of nationality, so you would have each city-state in an alliance army, for instance. You would have each city-state fighting in its own section within a battle line. So we get that in lots of the battle lines. We talk, even Alexander the Great, on left or right of the phalanx, contingents from different cities or communities who fought together. And that certainly was something that allowed them to have some kind of loyalty to a commander. You do get, like, again, the Macedonian phalanx, even though they are loyal to their king, the commanders of each of the 6 divisions of the phalanx, the taxace, each one of them had a local commander. So even though they're fighting for Alexander, there's actually like an esprit de corps that comes from them coming from a particular region of Macedonia. So there's that kind of idea. You later, of course, get it with the legions, and the identity of the legion begins to have its own sort of sense of loyalty in itself. And there's again, you get that sort of appealed to by people like Caesar and Sulla, who are calling on legions by name, but when they misbehave, he'll punish them. You get Sulla and Caesar and others calling soldiers citizens when they don't do what he wants, because he's not willing to call them soldiers anymore because they're not behaving like soldiers, and they get upset. So of course they get returned to their discipline and to their military craft by wanting to be called soldiers by their commander. So all of those sort of tactics are in place. And again, we have several historical sources which talk about commanders should be willing to engage every single one of those to ensure the loyalty of their troops. Cajole, beg, inspire. But I think the main one, the one that is overrules all of them, no matter what period of warfare we're talking about, is if you win victories, your troops will be loyal.